trying to think, what should I even say? I thought about just telling my story, kind of a long story. I'll try to skip through things, but I had various supernatural sorts of experiences even when I was a little kid. Visions, weird happenings. I I used to have these dreams where I would be shown the future, basically. I had these dreams where I would be brought to this big white room or open light space. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a big open space. It's all like white light, and there was this table um, with a couple of people in suits behind it, and they had this sort of a cube thing that would bring up a screen that was projected into thin air, basically. And you could go inside the screen to where it feels like you're getting first person perspective, or you could look at it as though it was a television set, but you seem to have the option to change perspective. And they would show me events of the next, week or whatever, things from the future, and then that's what would happen. So I would know. It was like they were having me rehearse or something. I don't know exactly how to describe it. It was strange. Like they were explaining to me situations that maybe I wouldn't understand if they weren't explaining these things to me. And so that was going on when I was a kid. One time I had a dream where I met this old man with silvery gray curly hair in a robe, in a gray robe, and his eyes were like fire, like the sun. I guess God. The house was when I was younger, I thought it was haunted basically, but now I don't know if that's even the right term, but basically I had these night terrors and I would get attacked by things. I think my sister and some of her friends were messing around with witchcraft and Ouija boards and stuff or whatever, and something got in that house very dark. I started to have visions or nightmares I would see. I don't even know how to describe it. Basically, the sort of stuff that guy who was a cop that was going to be a preacher or whatever in the movie The Prophecy, visions of hell, of angels and demons and writhing people writhing in agony, wailing and screaming. I had these there was movement, like sounded like something walking around in the halls, creaking doors. This went on throughout the night. Sometimes I would have a dark, shadowy figure appear at the foot of the bed, and I would become paralyzed. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I couldn't scream. Sometimes I would fall asleep in bed under the covers, and I would wake up facing the opposite direction, like the bed had been made around me backwards, and my head was at the foot of the bed. The pillows were there, the blanket, and the whole bed was like made backwards. I, I didn't go to sleep that way, but I'd wake up that way, like the opposite direction in bed. Another time, I closed my eyes on this bed in the spare room. I felt myself sinking down. I looked up and I was underneath the bed, like I just passed through the bed somehow. Sometimes I would fall asleep in bed and I would wake up downstairs in a chair. Other times I would wake up with scratches, cuts, like something had clawed me up while I was sleeping. Things move by themselves. Plants would start swinging. It was hanging from the ceiling. Magnets on the fridge would get moved around. Drawers open and close. Doors open and close. You hear footsteps. Feel things grabbing me, pinching me, scratching me, shocking me, hitting me, choking me. Some of that stuff still goes on. Anyways, so that was my childhood basically, and some of what went on in my childhood. I also had screwed up. Something seemed to happen when I was young. It's like I went from being kind of more in the light, surrounded by good people, to and going to church and all this other stuff, and then something happened to where I was surrounded by all these like all the wrong kind of people. This happened when I was a kid, and all of a sudden we weren't going to church anymore, and everyone was fighting. Everyone was being mean to each other, and I was getting beat up. My cousins would throw me down the stairs and then drag me by my feet back up the stairs and then push me down the stairs again over and over. Basically, full view of my parents, and nobody seemed to give a shit. I got knocked through a wall once. My cousins were in judo classes, like black belts in judo. So that's kind of how I learned to fight when I was young. And them beating me up until one day I just kind of snapped and fought back, and I got good after a while, you know. The neighbors were meth heads. They'd send me over there sometimes when I was a little kid for them to babysit me. Guy came back with like a Laws rocket launcher in the back of his pickup truck one time. I don't know if it was, loaded or if it was a spent casing or what the heck it was, but because I was a little kid, I just thought it was cool. They'd set me in front of a TV with like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff like Stephen King's It, horror movies and stuff. I've had all these nightmares about clowns. Something would follow me around in my dreams and sort of torment me. One time I woke up from a dream, I heard this diabolical laugh, and I could almost see something like a huge arm reaching out from under the bed. Of course, I couldn't exactly see it, but it's more like I sensed it or something. Like, whoa, ho, 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 ho. I can't even do it. It's freakier than sounded like the devil or something, basically. This kind of weird stuff happened, when I was a kid, and then when I got to be about 16, I was dating this woman I was in love with that turned out to be married, and then she left me, and then I kind of fell in with a bad crowd. I don't know. For a while there, I was doing these kind of psychic exercises with people. My sister got me to do psychic exercises. Think of a number, think of a color, think of a shape, stuff like that. Pick a card, etc., etc. Psychic exercises and visualize things, and I got to where I was pretty darn good. The more I would practice with people, the stronger I would get. I'd have visions of the future, dreams of the future, dreams of current events. Sometimes have dreams where I was in somebody else's body and I could see things through their eyes and knew what they knew. It's like I was experiencing life, just seeing through their eyes. It sounds nuts, but I've had a lot of strange stuff go on throughout my life. But it was back in about, I'll skip ahead. My younger days, like when I was 16, from then on until maybe my mid or early 20s to mid 20s, I was getting stoned, popping pills, and being promiscuous with a bunch of women. And but I was also having like strange occurrences, strong psychic abilities, spiritual stuff. I had like a second sight kind of. And I could do stuff like cloud busting and, entering people's dreams. Like, I was pretty, I think it was like some sort of dark thing or whatever back then. I don't know. When I got to be in my, like mid 20s or something, I started to realize that there was this darkness, like demonic spirits or something that were dwelling in me. I started to recognize that these things that were pretending to be my friends or spirit guides or whatever were really against me. I started to read the Bible and pray more to God, and sometimes the TV would come on by itself to some televangelist talking about exactly the sort of questions I had right then, or kind of seemed like they were talking right to me, to my situation. Other times I've had some preacher come on and like a cell phone or radio or something come on by itself and start playing some sermons or something that seemed to be specifically talking to me. I first tried to read the Bible more when I was, not the first time I tried to read the Bible, but when I was trying to really read it when I was in my mid 20s and had all that darkness, like I was casting out, like praying and a lot of stuff getting cast out of me. And I sort of became more I became more consciously aware of myself, and that not all the thoughts that entered into my mind were my own, but something else was trying to plant thoughts in my head, or I recognized that there was a darkness. And the moment when I had like a serious revelation about this, there's actually a painting that was done by Akiana Kramaric called "The Filtering Self-Awareness." It's a painting of me. I remember where I was. I was in the I used to live in this 30-foot camp trailer, and I was standing in the bathroom in front of the mirror because I realized there was something else that was, bad. There was this darkness that was not me that was trying to influence me. I first started reading the Bible more, and the pages would turn by themselves. I would have a question about something, and sometimes the pages turned by themselves. Other times it was like I would open the book up and it would open right to the page that was talking about something that I was dealing with, you know? I know there's something to that. I get it, but there's been so much darkness in the world, though. And I really find myself questioning religion, questioning God, all of that, because things have just been so strange, too strange. I've seen numerous UFOs in my life. The last one I remember seeing, it was back in like 2020, 2021 or something. And I'd forgot about it. It's like my memory had been wiped, but then I remembered it later. I suppose I could say maybe it was a dream or something, but I don't. I just remember hearing what sounded like a fleet of fighter jets or something. And I walked over to the window and opened up the window and looked up, expecting to see jets fly over or something. But instead, there was this big, huge, triangle shaped craft that came in slow and low over the trees. And I was frozen in place. I couldn't move. I just looked up and this huge craft just floated overhead. And then the next thing I knew, it was nighttime. When this thing flew over, it was broad daylight. The next thing I knew, I was in my room and it was dark. I don't know what happened. I got. I was also there at the Phoenix Lights in Phoenix, Arizona years ago when that happened. I was in the backseat of a car watching that. And I've seen numerous other ones as well. The kind of stuff that I've experienced, though, the level of like spiritual attack, it's hard to explain. It just sounds freaking nuts, and I know it just sounds nuts to talk about the stuff, but it's freaking real, man. Never mind the Mandela effect. That's what people have been calling a lot of this stuff. Although nobody seems to notice that, the Mandela effect had a couple of things that seemed kind of spiritual in nature to it, like the 46664 Nelson Mandela, and the thinking man statue is actually a depiction of Faust. And there's another thinking man statue that's part of a larger archway that's called the Gates of Hell. Moses with horns, all kinds of other old pagan temples that were destroyed many years ago that came back. A lot of strange stuff happened. The changing of the Bible, archways of Baal showing up everywhere, etc., etc. All the weird clown world stuff that's been going on. I've been personally attacked. I've had numerous attempts made on my life throughout the years. Two major, like, crazy sort of ones just this last year, where somebody tried to kill me in a car, tried to hit me with a car. That's happening. Many times where I've gone out. A lot of the stuff I experience is kind of like the Truman Show or something. You go somewhere and I don't know, like any given day there might be a time where there doesn't look like there's any traffic out on the road, and I'll decide that I want to go drive to the store to pick up some food or something or whatever, to go turn cans in, whatever I'm doing. By the time I get in my car and go try to pull out on the road, wall to wall traffic jam. I see the same cars everywhere I go. If I go to 5 or 10 different stores, see the same cars and the same people at every single one of them everywhere I go. If I go to the park, might get there and there's nobody there, and then within a matter of seconds after I pull in, suddenly there's 50 or 100 cars pulling in a row, all looking like brand new cars, and people just surrounding me. The kind of stuff that happens, like, it's hard. I could try to explain stuff, but most people would hear me talk about the stuff and would just think I was nuts, or just I was making shit up or something, Because it's so crazy, it's so strange. One time I went to the park just to try to go sit by the river, try to calm down, find a place where I could get some peace. I would go there to try and find peace. And sometimes I would be able to find peace there. Other times, hundreds of people show up. Most of the time when I try to go to a park or go somewhere where I can get some peace, and a bunch of people show up and surround me and follow me around everywhere I go, basically. Other weird stuff has happened, like I had one time I went to the park. It's the story I was starting to tell. I went to sit down by the river, and I look up in the sky and I see one after another 5 drones, and I mean like military attack drones. And I just so happened to have some drone identification chart on my phone, something that Luke Rudkowski had shared on Facebook or something. I don't remember the exact type of drone that it was, but it was some kind of military attack drone. Like 5 of them, and they just went around in a circle, round and around, round and around, right over where I was sitting. I've had some really strange stuff go on in my life, man. Darkness. Been surrounded by really, really scary, crazy, fucking dangerous, murderous type of people, man. People with some real serious darkness. You really learn to recognize the demonic spirits and stuff when you break free from them and you had them in you. I did when I was younger, when I was when I was about 16 through like my mid 20s, I had freaking demons running all through me, man. And I knew them. I knew their thoughts. I knew the way that they. So you can recognize that in other people when you get free of it and you get them out of you, basically, or enough of them out of you, anyways. You start to recognize their character, their nature, their behavior, and you can see them in other people. And I'll tell you, I find myself basically downright terrified by the presence of a lot of people that I've known. And ever since I've been dealing with basically, if I have to use biblical terms to describe the stuff I've been dealing with people that are possessed by demons and fallen angels that have been, I don't know, obsessed, stalking me, messing with me for many, many, many years. I know I'm not the only one that's dealt with this sort of stuff. That there's a lot of people being tormented by these things. Sadly, many of them are innocent children, as I was. Once upon a time, you know. I've tried to hold on to that part of myself, that part of me inside that's still the child. I've tried to protect him. I've tried to take care of him. Tried to heal his wounds. But honestly, it hurts. And it's fucking horrifying. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being surrounded by darkness and living in a world that feels like just some collection of insane cults, violent, wicked, sadistic, heartless, cruel people. And the blind leading the blind, man. I don't know what to do. You see, I've kind of lost touch with my spiritual beliefs as far as, Christianity is concerned. God. Kind of, yeah. Because I've seen the wickedness in it. If anything, if I had to pick some spiritual belief based on my experiences and things like that, I would say I maybe something closer to like Marcionism, or if that's even the correct term, um, or perhaps Gnosticism or something, to some extent. I don't know. If I could be wrong about this, but I think what people were talking about Marcionism, from what I've heard, it sounds like basically that believed that the God of the Old Testament was evil, and that Jesus was trying to warn us about basically, a demiurge or something. I don't know. I don't know what I think about that. I really don't. I don't know. But I know that I see a lot of evil going on in the world, and that I see an awful lot of Christians and an awful lot of churches everywhere and an awful lot of people praying, seeming like good people, but I don't see them doing anything to stop the freaking evil from taking over the planet. I don't see them doing anything to get the homeless, a place to sleep or to feed the hungry, prevent the mass poverty and starvation of people and things like that. I don't see them doing that. I don't see them, too many people help trying to protect the children. I see a lot of horrible things going on in the world, and I see it being allowed. You drive into towns with Christian churches on both sides of the street, up and down the street, and that same town will have a symbol of a satanic organization running the whole town, basically. You know, it's like that everywhere. Seems to be. Maybe it isn't. Maybe there's somewhere better. I've had people tell me that the area that I'm in is one of the worst places in the country. And in the past, I might have argued, but I don't know if it's better. The grass is greener on the other side somewhere else, but I know this is not a good place. If it ever was, it's not anymore. Are there pockets of light, pockets of good here and there? Yes. One of my problems, though, if I'm being honest, I guess the Christian perspective of me, or your diehard Christians and stuff, would say that it's not my place to judge God, and would say that I was blasphemous, or that I don't know what. All I know is I see a lot of evil going on in the world, and I see it not only being allowed, but being promoted and being rewarded. And I see the promises of God being stripped away from us, basically. You know, behold the birds of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, and your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are you not much greater than they? Behold the lilies of the field, for they toil not, neither do they spin. Yet even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed as one of these. There's a number of quotes from the Bible that I remember that just promises from God that I don't see them being, I don't see them coming true, you know? Now, I've seen miracles, I've seen people be healed from my prayers and stuff like that in the past. I have seen many things that people would consider to be miraculous, but I've seen more dark than I have light. And I've seen more evil than I've seen good. And I see around me a world where evil is rewarded and good is punished. Or where good has to be 100% perfect, or it's not good enough, you know? I can't say that I haven't seen some people that are like super duper good and seem to be rewarded some, but I don't know. I know I have flaws. Other people have similar flaws. How are we supposed to just be perfect or something, you know? It said that Jesus has come to set the captives free. He'd come to save the sinners, you know? But I see, I don't know, I shouldn't get too much into religion, I guess. It's just something that I've wondered about, you know? Been trying to figure it out for so long. And it's really got me at odds with, you know, because especially now, I feel like I've had things just going wrong in my life too much for too long. I feel like I've just been suffering and suffering and suffering, basically, trying to distract myself by drinking and watching TV or whatever the hell, you know, things to just try to distract myself from the pain. It's been about a year and a half since my mom died. A little over a year since I lost my home. Since I've had a home cooked meal. Since I've been able to cook without just heating stuff up in a microwave. It gets old, man. Going on like this, and sometimes I expect a miracle, but keep thinking that things are going to get so much better that I'll get out of this darkness and some great miracle will befall me and everything will finally be better. I'd win the lottery or something and be able to go buy a house and start a farm and finally have some peace in my life. things seem to just get worse and worse and worse and worse. The world around me and my own life. Now I'm thinking I'm gonna have to go live in my car because I can't afford to keep paying this fucking motel. And I want to get out of here because I know, I mean, if it's even possible that some other state's going to be better than this, that I could, get far enough away from these demons and stuff to be able and find somewhere where there's actually kind, loving, good people somewhere. But at the same time, I feel like I'm not good enough. Been so long in darkness and surrounded by it, I probably reek of hellfire because I've been in hell for so long. I mean, you can't dump a man into a pile of raw sewage and expect him to come out smelling like roses. I've lived most of my life surrounded by people with foul mouths and twisted minds and twisted hearts, cold blooded, nasty, violent. I always feel like I have to be on guard all the time. I just have to have my head on a swivel, waiting for the next person to come after me, or next time I have to sit in a room and be okay with listening to some murderer talk or some crazy person. Just trying to be a lot. Just trying to stay alive, but I swear I look around, all the darkness in this world, all the crap that I've had to put up with for years now. I shouldn't point the finger too much because I guess there's another passage in the Bible. Take the mote from thine own eye, right? I'm not perfect. Drinking proves that, I guess. I only drink because when I get sober for a while, I don't know, in a way it's become a habit. It's become a kind of an addiction. When I clean myself up for a while, it's like I just start. I swear the world gets even crazier. The longer I get into the light and stuff around here, when I manage to get out of the darkness and actually clear my head and clear my spirit, clear the dark energies from away from me, they come. They come a knocking, dude. All kinds of like basically demon possessed people and fallen angels and crazy stuff starts to show up in my life. Things start to get crazy. All the targeted individual stuff ramps up more and more and more when the longer I get sober and try to do the right things, try to improve myself, improve my situation. That's when shit gets like really, really crazy, you know? That's when stuff starts happening, like getting circled by drones or followed by helicopters or, weird, crazy stuff like that, you know? I haven't even mentioned half the fucking weird shit that goes on. Maybe I have in some other videos, but I can't count how many times it seems like the same day repeats over, like freaking Groundhog Day or something. How many times I wake up at 11:30 or noon or something. Then I'll go take a shower, get out, sit down, and look at the clock, and it's 9 o'clock or 9:30 in the morning. All of a sudden, time just went backwards and reversed or something. You wouldn't freaking believe the kind of weird, crazy stuff that happens to me on almost a daily basis, basically. The time slips, that's something that happens. I'll have days sometimes where it's like 1 minute it's morning, and then in an amount of time that only seems like a half hour, an hour has gone by, and it's dark out all of a sudden. you know, that doesn't happen that often, but I've had things where time seems to reverse, where it's like 1 minute I'm wake up and it's light outside, and then it becomes dark again. like it goes back to where it's earlier all of a sudden. Sometimes when I drink too much, like way too much, I make myself sick, and I spend like you know, I've had times where I just felt so sick and horrible, and I take like what felt like a week or two of, drinking detox tea and lots of water and trying to heal up and detoxify and get healthy again, take vitamins and probiotics and all sorts of things to try to improve my health and get lots of sleep and so on. And it feels like a week or two has gone by in this period of time. But it's only been like a day, 2 days or something. But I swear it seemed like more like a week or two or something. Like I stuff a week or two into 2 days sometimes. I'm telling you, man, the kind of stuff that happens, it sounds pretty crazy, pretty unbelievable. I get it, but God, I haven't even mentioned all that much of the stuff in this video. There've been so many strange things that, like, I don't know, so many things that it would sound completely insane if you hadn't experienced it yourself. Even if you experienced it yourself, it still sounds crazy. I mean, I understand, dude. I've always questioned myself when I, especially in the past, I never used to even, really believe. Like if I had a vision about something or a bad feeling about something, I would always question until time after time after time I saw that, it was real. There's a reason for it, it's been proven to me that the crazy stuff that's going on is real. I'm not just fucking imagining it. I'm not hallucinating it. I can't say with 100% certainty that there haven't been some hallucinations in the past or something, but for the most part, no. I don't think so. Even the hallucinatory stuff I think seems to be more of a, like when I was years back doing drugs and stuff like that. I think some of the shit that I saw then was real. It was just I was only able to see it because I was on the drugs or whatever back then. It's like it opened you up to be able to see things that other people can't see, but those things are real, you know. Well, I mean, you don't believe the weird crazy stuff is real? Tell me this, how come if you go like listen to the stories of people having DTs, the types of uh, quote hallucinations that they have, how come they're seeing the same stuff? Hundreds of different, thousands of different people, millions of different people, whatever, and they're seeing the exact same things. I don't call that a coincidence. I call that pretty much confirmation that the stuff that they're seeing is really there. You know, there's this one dude had a targeted individual channel on YouTube. God, I wish I could remember his name because he's the genuine article. It's just I know lots of other, a number of others that are the real deal, but there's this one guy that I haven't seen his channel in a while anywhere, and I know he was the real deal. He was getting some footage of things that I wonder what happened to him, because he was able to film some of this weird, crazy, impossible sorts of things that I've seen. He was able to actually get. There's not that many people that go out and do that actually film this stuff. I used to have some video and pictures and stuff like that. Maybe I still do on my PC in storage, possibly. Shit. Hmm. Hmm. Sorry, I got distracted. There's this movie on muted, but man. Hmm. Yeah, totally distracted. Spaced out there. The Magnificent Seven, the remake. I swear this seems like it's changed too. This movie, it seems like it's been kind of Mandela affected a number of ways. You would think I would have remembered Denzel Washington being in it for one thing. I guess I've only seen it like once or twice. Once, I think, years ago. Dude, I'm always having weird stuff happen throughout the day. Like, just one weird thing after another. Now, sometimes if it only happened every now and then, you might chalk it up to coincidence. It's like, oh, that's a funny coincidence. But when weird stuff is happening all the frickin' time, every single day, it ceases to be coincidental. Like the universe is messing with my head constantly. It's hard to explain these things to people because I know it sounds crazy. I get that. Weird stuff. Very weird stuff, man. And I wish that God would rescue me, pull me out of this darkness, find me a home. Let me have some freaking peace in my life, some love in my life. I'm so stressed out, man. Damn it. Shit. Hmm. Dang it. Well, I guess I've ranted enough. More than enough. There is so much stuff that I've dealt with that I hear some people that talk about the Mandela effect sometimes talk about the stuff, and some people that few people that are legit that talk about being a targeted individual have similar experiences. Some I talked to this one chick, Callie or whatever, like a couple of years ago. Sounded like she was one of the only people I've ever talked to, ever heard from that had, even more intense sort of or similar sort of intense experiences as I have had. You ever seen shapeshifters? Just just wondered. That's some freaky shit, I'll tell you that. There's some people that God, actually I I should try to find some of those channels. I just realized that some of the more intense channels where they film, well, there are a number of people that have filmed these things that are all around us. Not something I generally talk about all that much, but there's these. Never mind. There's. I don't know what they are. Basically, we're surrounded. I can't usually see them or anything, uh, but I've sensed them and managed to photograph them in the past. Some of them.